I am an employer, but in the education sector. So I'm the founder of this college here. So I'm very much in the education sector and also a lecturer at the university. Now, it's the first time I'm joining this conference. First time I met this group. And I'm very happy that I met the group because I've noticed when I lecture at the university to the students who are going to go on to being employees somewhere, the other lecturers who have no practice in the vocation say exactly the opposite. So the theory and the practice don't always match. They're very different. This is in Turkey, not in the UK or other countries. But in Turkey, I've noticed, and I say to my colleagues at the university, they've got to get out there and be employed somewhere and work for a year to see the difference between theory and practice. I want to quickly introduce the Turkish educational system to you. Compulsory education starts at the age of 6. Primary education goes until 10 years of age. Middle school, 14 years of age. And upper school, secondary school, is for 4 years. It's compulsory, but I'm sad to say not all students in Turkey study up till the age of 18. In the east of Turkey, sometimes girls are taken out of primary school after second grade or never even sent to primary school. If they are sent, once they learn how to read and write, girls are put away and sent to be married at the age of 11, 12, 13, sort of thing. Child brides, we call them. Kindergarten is not compulsory and it is not free. If you want to send your child to kindergarten, you've got to pay in Turkey. Now, for employers to be present in the schools, I want to continue explaining the schools. Primary schools, all primary schools teach the same curriculum, just one type of primary school, which is called primary. Middle schools, two types. So, students who finish primary school can either go to normal secular middle schools to go on to secondary education, high school, or they can go to Iman Schools, recite the Quran, and then when they go to the upper school, they continue with, again, the Imam Schools. If they start in middle school, then the secondary school, upper school is the Imam School again. Secondary schools, we have normal secular lycées, we call lycées, like the French system, and those students who go to lycées prepare to go on to university. Military lycées, then those students just become soldiers at the military, continue at the university as military. Now we also have, as upper school, vocational lycées, vocational schools, which teach a vocation to students, and those students do not go to university. Most of them, once they're 18, go on to employment after finishing school. So this is the system in Turkey. The educational background is a political arena, unfortunately. There is a fight about the education and it's always changing. Now, in 1923, the Turkish Republic was formed from the remnants of the Ottoman Empire, which was disintegrating. And from 1923 to 1998, which is decades and decades, a long time, when I went to primary school, for example, it was 5 years of primary, 3 years of middle school, and 3 years of lycée, upper school. And then in 1998, the government changed the system, grouped this together as 8 years of compulsory education on the same school grounds and compulsory education. The reason for that was the increase in the Iman schools and moving away from being secular. It was to stop it, because earlier on, when it was 5 years of primary school, parents could send their children to Iman schools at the age of 11. Whereas, when this is grouped to 8 years, the child becomes 14 years old. And then this is adolescence, and the child can say, I'm not going to go to Iman school, I'm going to go to vocational school, or I'm going to go to secular school. This was the aim. This is why it was changed in 1998 to 8 plus. The lycée was made into 4 years, increased as 4 years. What happened in 2012, it was undone, changed, and the 5 years became 4 years, the 3 years became 4 years, and it became 4 plus 4 plus 4, which meant now parents can send their children to Iman schools at the age of 10, which is even lower than 11. So it's a political arena. Depending on the outlook of the government, the system is continuously changing. Now, university education, degree courses are for 4 years for all subjects, but medicine faculty is 6 years and dentistry is 5 years. We also have within many universities what we call higher vocational education, which is for 2 years. Those students who study for 2 years don't receive a degree, they receive a diploma. So it's something between secondary school education and university education. Also, we have open universities, similar to here. Regardless of age, anybody can enter it. But not all faculties, not all departments exist. For example, you cannot become a doctor through open university or an engineer. Every year, about 1.5 to 2 million students sit the university exam. It is a very popular, very competitive, centralized exam. Just one exam for all the universities. And students receive a point or points according to science subjects, literature subjects, sort of thing. And according to the point, a student can be placed in a university or in a department. A student can sit the exam as many times as she desires, 10 times if she wants to. But because there are so many university graduates in this system, many of the students are unable to find employment after receiving their degrees. Over 500,000 unemployed graduates. And many of the students actually find employment in the fields other than what they study. They may study archaeology, but because there are so many archaeologists, they end up being shopkeepers or primary school teachers, nothing to do with archaeology sort of thing. So there isn't a match between what is studied and the career which is pursued later. In 2015, over 2 million students applied, and only less than 500,000, about a fifth of the students were placed at the universities. So even though many students apply for the exam, about a fifth of those students are able to get a place at the university. How about selecting the departments at the university? Most students do not receive enough points to be placed in the university or the faculty they'd like to. So it's just by chance which vocation they go into. Also, the societal values and social pressure plays a huge part in the choice of a career in Turkey. Some courses like medicine, engineering, dentistry, law, architecture require higher points, are taken as more valuable. So most students want those departments. They may be interested in literature, but if they receive enough points, they go into one of those departments. I'm a typical example. I studied electronic engineering. I became an engineer. At the age of 22, I decided I wanted to go into teaching. So I never worked as an engineer in my life. I taught, and later on I wrote 16 books, so I might as well have studied literature. Would have helped me a lot more than all the difficult mathematics. So it was the societal pressure when I was 18 or the societal values that pushed me into it. Now, all this I explained is free education. Anyone who wants to study without paying can do so. Also, there are private schools and private universities. So it is possible to pay for education as well. State or paid education, there isn't just one quality. It could be high quality, low quality. It is not standardized, unfortunately. And the numbers I gave is both private and state at the same time. Now, you might think about some questions, so I want to mention them because they form the educational system in Turkey. If I send my child to an Imam middle school and an Imam upper school, can I send my child to the law faculty so that he becomes a prosecutor or a judge? Yes, I can. Okay. In the past, it was not allowed until 1998 or whatever. Those students who had graduated from Imam schools had to sit extra exams to be able to go into those departments. But now they can. So there are in Turkey now prosecutors or judges who are at the same time imams. And then there is the question of, are those judges secular or do they follow the Quran, Sharia? Which one? Because they are both some sort of accepted law. One is the Turkish law codes are very similar to the Swiss law legal codes. So do you follow those legal codes or do you follow the Sharia ones? How about the vocational secondary schools? I think very highly of those schools. And I think they give very good education. But unfortunately, there is almost a caste system in the society. It's an unspoken caste system. Only if the child is not academically inclined, parents will send students to vocational schools, or working class parents will send to vocational schools. So which school a student goes to has very much to do with the career of the parents. It goes parallel, which is a point which has to change in Turkey. Vocational school students and military school students can sit the university exam, but normally the tradition is they go on in their own career. If a student has studied tourism in the vocational school, he will go on to study tourism at the university. He will not wish to study law. Same with the military schools. What is the difference between the Imam schools and the secular schools? In one, the Quran is recited, memorized. In the other, the normal Western curriculum is followed, such as mathematics and science. Now, employer engagement in education. Where are employers in all this educational setting? None in primary schools and none in middle schools, nothing at all. Some in secular secondary schools. How? A minority of schools, and those schools tend to be private schools, have career days. So they invite people like you and I to go and speak to the students. But then, this is nothing structured. If I talk to the students, I talk about my own experiences and my own feelings about, for example, engineering. So it does not represent the whole picture. It is very personalized. So what happens? Most students choose a career according to the parents' choice, decision, advance, or just by chance, how many points did he receive at the university exam. Now, employer engagement in vocational schools, secondary schools, there is a very structured system here, and it works beautifully. It works without a problem, so it is good. In the last year of this lycée, secondary school, students are placed in their field of vocation to do practical placements. 3 days a week, 3 full days, and they actually get paid by the employer a third of the minimum salary. So the student is 17 or 18, still a student, and most of these students come from working class backgrounds, and it is very good that those students can start earning money while they are students. So it is good for the employer and it is good for the student at the same time. And through this whole year, it is a whole year, starts in September, finishes in May, at the end of May. The progress is reviewed, so it is taken very seriously, very well structured. And many of those students, when they finish the lycée, the secondary school, go on to be employed at the same place where they did their practice. Because they learned a lot, they got used to the employer, and the employer got used to the student. So it works for both of them. They guarantee their job, their vocation. Which areas do they work? Kindergarten teachers. We call pre-accountancy. It's like financial, secretarial sort of thing, doing the mathematical parts of it. Beauty parlors like hairdressing, facials, waxing, etc. There are secretarial schools, tourism, which I didn't write here, and then of course there are the technical schools, electrical, computing, ship making. For example, ship making is a big area in Turkey, ship or boat. In vocational colleges, this is the 2-year university courses. There is nothing structured like the secondary school. There are small attempts, just individual little attempts, but the structured system is just in the secondary schools. At universities, again a few attempts, but it is not widespread. Just like, again, career days or some personal development courses maybe. I have some examples of those. Kippa is owned by Tesco, British Tesco in Turkey. They've done a youth academy. But it's like personal development, like teamwork, confidence building, personal effectiveness, creative thinking, etc. And it's a very short course. It is just a total of 14 hours with 20 students. So it doesn't go into too much depth. And they have up till now done 5 groups, which is 100 students, which is not a big deal. Istanbul Chamber of Commerce does a few things, but again, these are very small attempts, nothing very structured. And they work with these universities, names of universities. Now, some private universities, these 3 are private universities, and they are holdings, they are corporations of all sorts. So sometimes they give a chance to their students to do apprenticeship or practice, working practice, internship in their own corporations. But again, nothing systematic. COSGEB, it is, the translation is the Chair for Developing Small and Middle-Sized Business Enterprises. This is like up to a group of 30 people working in one small business. It's real small business. They did more than education. This is just giving money to who wants to start this small entrepreneurship, for helping financially. And this is for adults. It's not for young people. Technocities, within some technical universities, this is the university I work in. It's a technical university in Izmir. In some of these technical universities, employers can come and open offices and work along with students, and they are exempt from tax. In-service training, similar to in-service training in this country, but again, this is for those people who already have jobs and they are adults and they've chosen their career anyway. This is, I think, what Paul was explaining, the same government body, but the way it is advertised in Turkey is not ILO. It is just the Turkish government. I've just heard it from ILO. What they do is for 6 months, the government pays a minimum salary to a worker working in an organization. And there's iş kurses. Actually, as an employer, I use this with 6 people, so I know out of practice. İş kurse, okay, you can find the person you want to employ. They didn't provide a network for me, so somebody who had applied to our college, we said, is this person okay? And they said, okay. And they said, you are going to give the education, and here is this form, you are going to fill in this form, and after 6 months, if you want, you can employ this person. If you don't want, you don't have to employ the person. We had 6 people come like this, only 2 persevered. I understand unemployed people use this facility, but they look for jobs, better paid jobs. They don't want this minimum salary paid by the government. So as soon as they find a job, they go. They're not really there to receive education or training. It's just they're unemployed, and it's just until they find a job. So out of 6 people, 4 left before the end of 6 months. only 2 were serious. They persevered. And after 6 months, we employed both of them because they had gone through this education. So this system, unfortunately, Paul, is open to abuse in Turkey. Halk eğitim is public education offered by the Ministry of Education. Again, I'm finishing, just 1 or 2 slides left. The Ministry of Education offers this to adults. It's short courses, about 1 month, at most 3 months, for people already employed to give them more qualification. This is my last slide. We have a challenge, of course, to bring employee engagement in education up to EU and British standards in a secular education system. We are still fighting with secular or religion, so we have a long way to go. Thank you.